In this show, we often talk about the metaverse and how to stay secure on Web3. However, when it comes to securing their systems, most major IT companies across the world have a code red, which is a plan that their IT administrators bring into effect in case of major security-related attacks. Just like Web 1 and Web 2, this code red is soon going to be a thing of the past because PCs protected by Intel vPro don't need to worry about these threats anymore. It helps defend against attacks before they even happen, thanks to the built-in multi-layer security. Time to cancel the code red. Intel vPro, built for business. Hi, and welcome to Future Proofing. I'm your host, Ekalavya Roshan. This show is presented by Intel vPro, built for business. In this show, we talk about Web3, blockchain, metaverse, a little sense, a lot of nonsense too, but a whole lot of fun. Today's episode is special. Today, we are going to talk about events, storytelling, communities, and there's one person who encompasses all of this together. The one and only, the person who doesn't need much introduction, Roshan Abbas. See you on the other side of this quick Intel vPro break.
Hello, it's been another great week on the IVM Podcasts Network. On Think Fast, Varun and Suchita talk about how the podcast industry hit the 1 billion mark. On Big Talk about tiny humans, Devi Shobha and Meghna address video game addiction in children. On The Longest Constitution, Priya explores the limits of free speech. On All Things Policy, the Takshashila folk discuss various aspects of the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework, or IPEF. And on Football Twaddle, Saru Baru and Yash analyze Real Madrid's UCL win. We've got some exciting news for you. IVM Podcasts has just launched its merch and our first line is out now. Head to the IVM Podcasts website and click on the shop tab to check out our first collection of t-shirts. Do follow us on social media. We are IVM Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And remember, if you're enjoying this show or any of our other shows for that matter, please do tell a friend. Also, don't forget to rate us on any platform you're listening on. And you can also check us out on YouTube. We're also doing a small listener survey to better understand how you respond to our shows and advertising on the network. We would really appreciate it if you could spare a few minutes to fill it out. It helps us build better shows for you. And finally, we would like to thank our sponsors this week: SBI Life Insurance, Jupiter, a digital banking app, Capgemini, get the future you want, Intel vPro, built for business, and Intel, future banao wonderful with Intel-powered laptops.
Hi, welcome back. हमने 100 लोगों को पूछा, who's that one person you definitely want on this show? And the top answer, of course, was Roshan Abbas. A pleasure to have you, sir.
Thank you, Eka. Thanks. So good to see you. I was actually, when I was listening to you, I was wondering, saying, Eka ने कितने लोगों से ये कराया है?
True.
Right?
Everyone says that, you know.
I mean, your whole MTV, you have been on the other side making great campaigns and stuff, and now you're on this side of the mic, so it's wonderful. I'm having a moment.
Thank you so much, sir. And it's pleasure to have you over here.
No, it's
and
wonderful.
I'm
yeah.
sure we're gonna have a fantastic conversation.
Totally.
So I want to start off firstly, right? Everyone knows of your journey, right? Right from theater to radio to TV, and so much more to you. Tell me your first memory of the internet, of the web.
So my first memory was actually that I was in Delhi and I had just made a lot of money from radio and television, right? And I had seen this red Ferrari laptop.
Okay.
Right, and at that time being able to buy a laptop was this big thing, right? I really was. It was a Toshiba Ferrari collaboration. So I got that, and I think I must have bought it more because you would look intellectual with it. You know?
And cool at the same time.
But when I switched it on, the 4 days of the 486, right? I mean, pre-Pentium days. I remember trying to find all the floppies and put them in and whatever. So early days, it was just computation. Yeah. But then one day I went to Rediffusion for some work, and there was this one guy who was on his machine. And when I entered Sandeep Goyal, the CEO's office, he said, "Yaar, ye ladka barbad ho gaya." So I said, "Kyun?" He said, "Ye 24 घंटे से कुछ इंटरनेट मिल गया है." And he's just stuck on that. And then, when I used to go early and sit with him and try and find out what it was. So I think, device-wise, that was my first device experience. And internet-wise, it was when I went into this Rediff office and I saw this guy. Ultimately, you won't believe that guy was asked to leave the company because he'd become an internet addict. I'm pretty certain he was watching too much porn.
What year was this? But
this was
everyone starts off with that.
97,
Okay.
97, 98.
Very interesting.
Those days.
And you've obviously seen the web evolve. But now, since our episode's primarily about events and communities, and you've obviously been involved with events for a long, long time, right? Let's talk about the evolution of what the event space has gone through, right? Like, apart from the recent, because of pandemic, and we'll dive into that later. But tell us your first journeys of probably, during Web 1, late 90s, how were events at that time? And how probably events have evolved over the last few decades?
Eka, very much like what Web 1 was, which was a place to come and consume one-way stuff.
Primarily.
Events were exactly that, right? In the early days, brands were investing. You would end up putting up some shows for them. There were B2B and B2C kind of events that used to happen. And the problem in those days was that who's going to come, how many is going to come was a question we could never answer. Right? And that was Web 1 and that was Events 1 or whatever, that you did your best effort and you said, I built it, people will come. In Web 2, similarly, what started happening was we started building two-way communication in events. So just as Facebook and everything else started and, there was this whole two-way thing that started, events also started doing a lot of what does the user want? Let's do a pre-read. Let's sort of do a survey. Let's do sampling. Let's do activation. All of these things sort of started. And I think that suddenly the consumer became more active.
So give us an example, like just for our viewers.
So as I'm saying, see, Web 1 was the Lair Mehndi concert. You put up a ticket link. People had to stand in lines for hours. I remember, I'm telling you, my craziest experience in that was Coca-Cola had sponsored the Lair Mehndi.
Okay.
And there was Fanta, which was doing something with the fashion show. And because the brand managers got excited, they said, you know what, we'll do all of this together. So there was Fanta and Coke. There was a fashion show and a rock show in the Lair Mehndi. Worst thought ever. There were 10,000 people next to Humayun's tomb. There was this big ground and I was the anchor. And I got on stage and I saw this and I looked at it as a disaster. Because you've got three different audiences who've come for three different things.
Yeah.
But you just don't know, right? I mean, you were just waiting. Because it was so one way in those days. And hoping something would happen. Web 2 and therefore that second part of the events was very much of turning and saying, okay, you're going to do something like, say, Idea Rocks India.
Okay.
Idea Rocks India, what is the artist that audience wants? You're doing a survey, you're checking in, you're trying to see who's more popular, YouTube par kiska channel chalna shuru ho gaya hai, right? So you started doing some amount of sampling, surveying. There was a lot of brand activation on the spot where you would turn and do things where people would be able to have a two-way kind of communication.
Great.
And that's what started happening. I still think that communities were not communities in those days.
Okay.
Everything was a vanity metric.
Okay.
Right? I mean, and vanity has been such a key thing throughout in even for a brand when they were doing an event, even on the web. So, when Formula 1 was happening, we were doing Formula 1.
Yeah.
This is 2010 or
when it had come to India, right?
When it came to India, right? So Airtel was the sponsor and we were working with them. And I remember Bharat Bambable was the brand head of Airtel. And he just came and said, in the first year, what had happened was that Vodafone, because they had a lot of activation with their driver in those days, right? They had come and completely hijacked F1.
Okay.
And Airtel was smarting because they were the title sponsor. Ambush marketing, right? And they were very, very upset and whatever. So they said, in year 2, we've got to take this over. And the first metric was we need to have 2 million people on the Facebook page. Now, that likes had become such a metric at that point in time, and we were not a digital agency. But these were the early days when we got Glitch involved. We spoke to Rohit and Varun. We got them. We asked them, what can we do? How do we build this kind of a presence? But even then, the whole metric was,
सिर्फ likes
इतने likes चाहिए. Interaction कितना हो रहा है? क्या हो रहा है?
Not many people cared.
People really didn't care. And slowly I feel that, when 2015, when I actually started Kommune, my whole reason to build a community and then an event, it was reverse.
Yeah, of course.
Was only because I said that there is a passion point of people wanting to be artists, consume art, consume storytelling. And it started with an email, and I sent an email to 20 people. Those 20 people sent it to 20 people. And the 1990 formula kind of kicked in. And suddenly, people started coming because of the fact that, there was ownership and interaction.
You're basically Web3 is slowly going towards the Web3 aspect,
absolutely,
right? Where you're, apart from just
absolutely.
consuming, you're also part owning, you're feeling you're part of the event.
And therefore philosophically what I'm actually trying to say, and I often find this, so when people talk about, there's stuff happening and there's Spotify and there's this and there's YouTube, and I often tell people saying, guys, this is just a new version of something that used to happen before. Radio was linear consumption. This is non-linear consumption of audio. Similarly, MTV, etc., was the YouTube of its time.
Yeah.
Right? When I did Public Demand on ZTV as an anchor show, people, oh my God, what are these guys doing? Because we were going on the road, we were doing Vox Pops.
Vox Pops back then.
Right?
Yeah.
Now that Vox Pop was the two-way conversation which the internet created. So when people look back and say, why was the shows popular? Family Fortunes was a public survey.
Yeah.
Then trying to see, do you understand? So you're doing exactly what Web 2 was doing.
Just a little thing, the Family Fortunes was the reference which I gave at the start for those of you
Yeah,
who didn't
I
get
was
it.
wondering, saying,
That was my first introduction to Roshan Abbas back then in television. So continuing, sorry.
Yeah. No, so what I'm saying is that I think in real life, a lot of what happens gets mirrored on the web.
Yeah.
Right? And whatever is the pain point in real life is what we digitally try to solve.
Okay.
Right? So if you look at what's happening in Web 3, when we built a community, when we had 100,000 people on YouTube, on Facebook, then I turned to my people and said, 10% of this is a true audience. The rest are sort of just coming and looking at क्या हो रहा है, because India में भीड़ बड़ी जल्दी आ जाती है किसी चीज पे, right? And out of that 10%, I said, there'll be about 2%, 3% that will be paying customer.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened. In the first year of us doing Spoken as a festival, we had 3,000 to 3,500 people. And between 2 days, we had about 7,000 people. As it increased, we went from 7 to 10 to 14. Now we have 1 million people plus on the digital community.
Incredible.
But I still use the same metric in my head, saying, boss, 2% to 3% of this is my true consumer. Everyone else is the, scroll through, see 1 minute, enjoy.
Some sort of passive consumption
Passive
is definitely
consumption,
happening.
right? And now, the thing that we really need to do, and why I'm so excited by all this thing about NFT and blockchain, etc. And those are the conversations we've started having is, see, we built a community, but I often tell my team saying now the community belongs to the people.
So let's take a step back, right?
Okay.
Especially when everyone talks about community. Why do you think people like to be part of communities?
We always want to be part of tribes. Right?
Why does it make us feel secure?
101%. I think there are a couple of things. The first thing is, let's again go back to prehistoric times, right? One poor man is standing by himself and suddenly one animal comes and kills him, but he's got 100 other people behind him. He knows he can fight, right? If we are moving around as a tribe, we've got, first, we are secure. B, we are sharing. I'm good at farming, you're good at hunting, you're good at cooking, I'm good at making bread, and barter starts.
That's where tribes came in, right? Yeah.
And therefore the whole concept of tribe comes in. There's a beautiful talk, by, oh my God, I'm just suddenly...
We'll put the link.
No, I'm just trying to remember. She's this famous psychologist who talks about couple counseling, etc. And she often turns and says that the whole concept of marriage actually came when agrarian societies started farming.
I know, this was on love, right? She's got a TED Talk also.
Exactly. Esther Perel. Thank you. My God. I'm getting old. So Esther Perel. When Esther said this, my whole thing was exactly this, that, I'm sowing today, I built a piece of land, I'm tilling it, I'm making it fertile. After I die, who will take care of it?
True.
So ownership becomes an important thing the minute human beings from nomadic became settled.
Okay.
The same thing happens in current communities as well. That the minute there is a community, right, the community turns and says, okay, what are we here together for? What's our code of conduct? What is the common passion point? What do we share? And I've actually, the other day I was doing a presentation to a brand and I built this Maslow's hierarchy of creativity.
Yeah.
But I said, just like there was roti, kapda, makan, and on the top there was self-actualization. In communities, it's the same thing.
Sir, I think सबसे base पे Wi-Fi होता है आजकल in Maslow's.
बिल्कुल. You're so right. Remember that thing which says Wi-Fi, battery?
Yeah.
Right? That was it. भाई इसके बिना तो life ही नहीं चलती. Rohit, in fact, I'm sorry, we keep having cross references of our friends.
Of course.
But Rohit once came and did a piece at Commune called home is where the Wi-Fi connects automatically.
That's
right?
so true.
And it's just so true, right?
Yeah.
I mean, certain things we take for granted. These are the roti kapda makan of today. But then, in any community, you turn and say, what is our common passion point? What do we get from each other? Is it monetizable?
Okay.
Right? The minute you get into the monetization stage, you know that, okay, I can make money off this. Now look at Kickstarter.
But that's where the hierarchy comes in within the community,
absolutely,
right?
Absolutely. And which is why where this entire blockchain and everything else is so exciting is on decentralization.
Okay.
And the second part of ownership.
Okay.
Right. See, the Kickstarter, when it came, I've invested in tons of these projects.
Okay.
I invested in a project, I got an object.
Yeah.
I paid, I got an object. But what if I owned part of the object's life?
Yeah.
What if I owned the future of that object?
True.
And if that object becomes big? And this is where I think Web3 is a big reaction to Web2. I built Facebook by being on it. But then one day you decide to chuck me from it. Right? I was on TikTok doing so well and suddenly there's a rule which takes me away from it. Where is my ownership?
Okay.
What do I own? And I think young people today are leading a life on a digital hemisphere where everything they try to solve is digital first.
Yeah.
So what they can't solve
Born
in real
digital
life.
first, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, look at you. I mean, you guys, I think, I was lucky that my generation saw both.
Yeah.
My parents only saw one. But this generation is trying to solve everything saying, okay, I'm digital first, I'll solve it digitally.
Yeah.
So ownership, I will solve digitally. You know, the fact of what
So did you ever buy an MP3?
I didn't buy an MP3,
Yeah.
I downloaded many.
But
sorry.
today's generation, that's the thing, right? Like we were having this conversation, what you rightly said, right? Like digital avatars, digital tokens. Like when I tried, and my dad was a computer engineer, right? Like and he would say, what are you even talking about these digital assets, right? And like what you said, frankly, this new generation is digital first completely, right? Like they don't mind, they like for them, honestly, going outside is it's almost painful at times, right?
No,
if
no,
you can
and-
solve it digitally.
And also look at the other fact, right? That when you're born into a broken world, right? This generation is born into a broken world. The climate, I mean, you know, oh my God, look what you guys... Like I'm telling my son when he was going abroad to study, I was about to give my dad lecture. He sat me down and said, Dad, listen, you guys have given my generation a future where the climate is screwed, the politics is screwed.
Everything.
Our day-to-day fabric of culture and community is screwed. We need to solve this. We'll do it on our own terms in our own way. You know? So, you know, I heard that. I said, okay, just go and have fun. Do what you want to do. But that's what I'm seeing.
True.
And there, you know, like again, the codification with this generation of saying, I'll solve this by a piece of code. I'll create something out of just the air. Is so exciting. I mean, you know, when this whole Namaste NFT happened down south,
Yeah.
and I had just got in touch with this team from a company called Hidden Kpop Studio.
Okay.
And I was just seeing the work that they were doing. I had a guy in Bombay who was pitching me a decentralized film company,
Yeah.
right? Saying, let's get a couple of people on top, but then anybody's script comes in, it gets this...
Yeah, we actually spoken about that in one of our episodes. But yeah, it makes so much
but
sense, right?
I'm saying that they will address their pain points in this manner, and they are different from the earlier generation in one very unique way. My parents' generation was always saving for a rainy day.
Yeah.
My generation said, okay, it's fine to enjoy a little and save a little and do whatever, you know, to whatever degree. These people just want to change the rules of what is barter, exchange, currency.
Completely.
And it's crazy, it's scary, but it's exciting.
Yeah, of course. So when you say decentralized, right, and this is what I want to explain to some of our viewers, and let's take the event space because you have a lot of experience in that. What is a decentralized, like you briefly mentioned about the thing which you are planning, which you did at Kommune and Spoken. What is a decentralized event? How do you imagine this? And probably additional layer is, what is the metaverse for you, Roshan? Like within this decentralized events world, where does metaverse come in? Like what's your vision on that?
No, so I'll give you 3 examples.
Sure.
Right? There was this girl who was interning with me a year and a half ago called Kashvi. And one day I see her on Twitter turning and seeing she's joined the World of Women community.
Okay.
And the World of Women community is an NFT community, again, doing something unique, but very women-led. And they were able to get Beyonce and all of these people, so they suddenly grew big. Then Gary Vee comes in with V Friends, and there was some collaboration. I was not fully clued into what happened. Now, this girl, along with a whole bunch of other people, were very invested into the VFriends community. And Gary Vee turned and said, you know what? Whatever I'm creating right now, if you're buying this little token, this is going to be your entry for, I think, 5 years or for life into VCon.
Yeah.
Next, what do I see? What do you think? Right? Next, what I see is this girl from Bombay sitting by herself, a student, is at VCon running the World of Women, a stall, meeting people, exchanging NFTs, creating a community. Now, this to me, anybody who wants to study what a great digital event is should look at VCon. The chatter around it is incredible.
They just had their first VCon.
Absolutely.
Yes,
and
exactly.
it was I thought VCon is going to be, Taj Land's End. Yeah. It was a stadium.
Crazy.
Right? And all starts with somebody buying a VFriends NFT.
So do you own any NFT?
I don't.
Have you seen a utility? Like, that's why I wanted to come. I'm glad you said don't, right? What will make you buy an NFT?
So I will not buy a NFT for vanity.
Agreed.
Because I'm not going to speculate on... it's the same thing. When I sold my company, I had another friend who sold his company. I went to his house. Every wall was covered with art. He had made an extra wall in his house to put more art. Genuinely. Right? And he was like, मैंने 2 crore का खरीदा है, ये 5 का बिक जाएगा, ये हो जाएगा. I said, have you bought the art to appreciate it or have you bought it for its speculative value?
That's the fool theory or the arbitrage model comes in, right? Yeah.
And around anything, if I turned and said, boss, this mic is only 1 in a million. 1 in a million, le lo, and everybody comes. Does it really have value? Yeah. Do I really want it? And that was my problem with art buying at that point in time. My problem is tomorrow if somebody, and I'll tell you what I have bought recently, sure. and to me it is an NFT. I have bought a limited edition digital print of the Pink Floyd art.
Okay.
Right? Now I know that there are only 200 of them, but right now it's a physical piece that I'm going to put up on my wall.
But you're also a Pink Floyd fan.
I'm a huge Pink Floyd fan, right?
Same, yeah.
Now what happens is if this was an NFT,
okay, I
would have bought it because I first saw a emotional utility value in it. I'm sure that...
That's vanity, right?
But again, see, what I'm telling you is that, see, it feeds 2 parts. One is it's limited. It's something that I'm owning something physical. And that's why I'm saying that my generation still wants to own physical assets. But I'm not buying it just because it's paise banenge.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the NFT piece became about, oh my God, you flip this, you'll make money.
I buy now, there'll be someone buying more.
My only problem was that.
But you genuinely like Pink Floyd, and since there's utility to it, you believe.
That's what. Now, if this led me to the 50th anniversary, a concert of Pink Floyd. I know that Stewfish is planning to do something apparently around Pink Floyd this year. I'm most excited because, yes, if somebody did an NFT of Pink Floyd, that takes me access there, that's great. Going back to what you were saying about, how does this fit into events? Yeah. This is the format actually to go with.
Okay.
Which is what, in fact, we are currently toying with.
Okay, so now, since Metaverse, now imagine this Pink Floyd concert is happening in the Metaverse. You said a lot of, there's a generation which would still like to feel things, okay? I feel a lot of stuff has gotten fueled because of the pandemic, where people earlier, if you told people, ki bhai, everything will happen behind screens, most people would have said, what are you talking about, right? And we'll come to that question. I want to know about how pandemic affected the events world. But imagine this event, this Pink Floyd gig which you're talking about. If it was to happen in the Metaverse, how do you think, how are you visualizing it?
So if it was happening in the Metaverse, there are 3 aspects of events that you need to replicate for it to be successful. One is an event appeals to all your senses, even from the feel of the grass, to the smell of the sweat of the person next to you, to the screaming people around, to the physical touch, to the taste of food.
You think that will happen in VR?
100% it will.
VR mein hoga?
100%.
Tactile,
Again,
haptic feedback.
Absolutely. You know the day when they released that little clip which said there's a television which if you scratch you can smell?
Yeah.
I said, boss, this is level next.
The future.
हो गया. Because खाना वहाँ बन रहा होगा, मैं यहाँ से scratch कर कहूँगा, हाँ, अब स्विगी से order कर लेता हूँ. Right? It's one more sense coming into.
You think it's still a little science fictiony and it might still take time?
No. You know this whole thing, the race of acceleration of things. Like the whole thing about the chip becoming cheaper and more powerful. It's the same thing that applies. When events were happening during the pandemic, and I'm sorry, I'm jumping.
Let's talk about that, right? Like the pandemic, I feel fueled evolution, right?
Yeah, because
how was it for the events world?
The first event we did was HP wanted to do a concert online. The person at that point in time who was the CEO of HP was a big classical music lover, and it found this man who used to do beautiful ghazals but in classical style sitting in Pune. So our first brief was Zoom concert karte. Okay? Now kuch aur tha nahi. We are saying we're going to do a Zoom concert. We did the concert. We were paid 50,000 rupees because they turned and said, boss, how can you manage?
Yeah.
Right? And we were like, okay, but we will try. And at the end of the show, whenever the classical singer was doing a murki, thumri kar rahe the or whatever. So the setting of Zoom, we didn't know at that point was that you could set it not to cut down silence. So if it thought anything is noise, it would try and make that silent. It took that guy's little harkat and उसे गायब कर दिया. अब वो गाना गा रहा है बंदा एकदम से गायब हो गया and the CEO saying क्या हो रहा है and अब हम कह रहे हैं now this is so I called Shreyas from Paytm Insider at that time. I said, yaar, what's going to happen? And he said, Roshan, this is Web 1.0 of events during this day. We will make these mistakes. 2 months later, Eka, we were doing a play online on Zoom. Right?
I remember that. Yeah,
and people were like, how can you do a play online? We first took a script which was about live dating, made it about virtual dating. Then I figured out how to stage manage Zoom, how to switch screens, how to make sure it happens without a glitch, how to make sure that there is going to be a music underlay. So you know what happened? I didn't know how to do music underlay live with someone else. So I put one iPad next to a mic here. And I used a second external source and I was manipulating the sound from here. I was having so much fun.
Yeah.
Right?
Forces you to learn stuff, right?
Then we realized that boss 45 minutes audience akele ghar pe baith ke dekh rahi hai. So we said, you know what? The chat window is, okay guys, tell us who should we date next? So I created a character in the play called Cupid who would ask people in the chat, which date should he go on? Now you're creating interactivity. Now you're creating people to turn and say, oh, I am a decision maker. And the minute you become a decision maker, you're part owner, right? Yeah. Now imagine this is the first 3 months.
Yeah, of course.
8 months later, we did the first Spokenfest in the Metaverse. And I'm telling you, when I look at it today, I wish at that point in time I knew the word because I would have turned and said the first event in the Metaverse. Because
you're saying it.
Sach bata raha hu, it was a spoken verse. We took a gaming company called Atah from Delhi. We gave them the environment of GeoGarden and we said, create this and tell me what functionality can you build. And they were so excited. You just need a bunch of Enthu people to work together.
Primarily.
And Ankur went into the Encompass office. We put a green screen and recorded a half-an-hour concert. I became a live MC to the event. Gaurav went and recorded links. And we put all of this up and you could actually go and select stages, go into places.
Did you do well?
So we had about 5,000 people who came.
Paying people?
No.
Okay.
Because it was the first one, never make people pay for the first experiment. They will curse you if it doesn't work. If it works, they're grateful and they'll come back and pay you.
Very nice point.
Don't do this the first time. किसी को बलि का बकरा मत बनाओ. देखो ये बड़ी पुरानी आदत होती है ना. Events पे why is Book My Show popular? Why is Paytm Insider popular? Because there was time when you'd go and stand in a bloody line and some scalper would try and sell you a 100 rupee ticket for 500. You'd buy it, you'd enter a auditorium and see something terrible and say, man, first though I got scalped. I waited 1 hour. 2 thullas beat me up. Then, so look at how we have to keep problem solving for these things. So I said, when I built the first one, I said, keep it free, let people enjoy it, let them experiment. And we got 2 extreme reactions. 14-year-olds turned and said, the gamification is nice, but it is too basic because I'm used to playing games on my Xbox and PS5.
On that note, Roshan, we'll quickly jump to the segment which we do on the show. It's time for Acas Commandments for future-proofing. It is not only the web that has evolved from Web 1 to Web 2 to Web 3. Hackers and cyber criminals are also on the rise. Crypto exchanges keep getting hacked every now and then. Even major film studios and big corporates are getting hacked. I would strongly recommend that every account that you create on Web3, always make sure you turn on the 2-factor authentication to protect your account. While I help you with tips that help you protect yourself in the virtual world, Intel vPro secures your PCs in the real world. The dark web is full of corporate data stolen from employees' laptops. If you are an enterprise user, you need safer options. Intel vPro offers protections below the OS and provides active monitoring for threats and attacks, keeping you protected at all times and from all threats. Intel vPro, built for business. Welcome back to Future Proofing, presented by Intel vPro. in this conversation, this fascinating conversation about events, community storytelling with storyteller par excellence, Roshan Abbas.
Thank you.
So sorry I cut you midline. So please.
No, so what I was saying is that look at that experience. So when we did it the first time, these young kids, so we then reached out for feedback. Young kids told us saying too basic because we are used to playing something so evolved.
Of course.
Right? The game mechanics are up there.
This is like fake 3D, fake 2D happening.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then people who were purists turned and said, यार ये क्यों gamify कर दिया? हम तो किसी का चेहरा देख के खुश हो जाते. So the next concert we did, which was on 15th August, had Javed Saab pinned on Zoom with a live calligrapher who was on a camera. So we kept experimenting, and I genuinely feel that these 2 years, obviously forced people to look at digital differently. It made us at both Encompass as well as Kommune, because Kommune is very community-led, Encompass is very brand-led. It actually was unique because here I'm trying to do consumer-first stuff, here I'm trying to do brand-first stuff. And ultimately I realized that at the end of it, you have to just keep doing audience-first, whatever you're creating right now. So I think that's where we've reached from an evolutionary stage. Hopefully we'll go live this year with events. But I was talking to, somebody who you should really talk to is Shabir. Shabir is from One Digital.
Yeah, I know about.
I was with Shabir in Dubai, and we were having this fascinating conversation where he said that now they have created technology to map people within 5 minutes. Right?
Okay.
Remember, mapping a person used to take, oh my God, an eternity. And remember all the dots with which you can see all the videos of Avatar, the film, and people.
Yeah,
right?
Of course.
Now imagine that you have a phone in front of you and you're looking at the phone, it's automatically
a digital avatar of you.
And 1,000 points of mapping on a face within 2.5 minutes. And he said, you know what, tomorrow, if I was doing an event and the person was not feeling well and they've already mapped themselves, they could be lying in their bed and doing it.
So, but is that what the metaverse is? Like 5-10 years down the line, do you think everyone will just stay indoors with their VR headsets? And like because I remember I remember reading this in one of your interviews where you said the social connection is very important, right? And what the pandemic did is it made us like the whole tribe aspect which we spoke about was slightly distorted, right? What's the future? Is it a mix of both? Is it going to be convenience driven? Is it something for introverts separately, something for extroverts separately? Like what is the secret sauce? So no one knows the answer.
I think, Eka, you've given all the options in that one sentence when you said. So will it be convenience? Yes. Right? Why have all meetings moved to Zoom or to any other communication channel online? Why do I need to meet you physically? But I promise you, right before this, I was at a meeting where I was meeting a person for the first time. I insisted on it being physical.
I insisted. Thank you for coming to the studio.
No, exactly.
Because I think attention wavers on a screen.
101%. I'd be on my phone right now doing something on the side. I would look on the corner. I'd mute you for a second and ask for something. Ye sab hota hai. So garnering attention, and not just attention, reading body language, physicality, all of those things are there. So everything utilitarian will move to device.
Okay.
Everything that is emotionally charged to a large degree, I feel, and ultimately we are social beings, right? Finally, we are all looking for someone to fornicate with and create our next species. I'm telling you, you read
genetic code, of course.
Genetic coding क्या है, boss?
Sapiens and all, everything's about that.
मैं खत्म हो जाऊंगा, मुझे अपनी अगला piece of code दुनिया में छोड़ना है. In a human being, we are leaving it as a zygote.
But people are changing, Like on that note, I'll see the number of younger people who want to have kids anymore, right?
They don't.
It's reducing.
I know, but see, also I'm telling you this. There's. I think we're living in a world where everything new. It's so fascinating. For my parents' generation, it's scary now because it's too much change. Too much change. They can't handle it.
Yeah.
Right? Today I was talking. I don't know whether you've seen all this research that's happening about creating a sun on Earth.
Okay.
Right? Saying, so if a nuclear winter or anything else happens, where will we get sunlight from?
Become self-sufficient.
So we are creating a sun on the Earth. 127 nations are working on doing that. Now, to my parents' generation, kya kar rahe ho, yaar? Why are you trying to mess with this also? But to this next generation, maybe it's a solution. So,
but do you think catastrophe is what's going to drive people indoors and more VR and more metaverse?
No. That's why I'm telling you that the day you can replicate every sensation that I feel, right? Touch, taste, listen, see, feel, all of that. the day you can recreate most of those, I think maybe, I don't know if you've seen this show called Upload, which is there.
Yeah, of course,
right?
on Amazon.
Right?
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
Upload. And in Upload now there was this point of of this girl who's told him that she's uploaded, but actually she hasn't. And I find it fascinating. Are we living a Black Mirror episode? I think we're living a part of it. Remember that one which
Heaven is a place on earth. Yeah, that episode.
Look at that.
Big fan
right?
of that episode.
And that for
but that's
example,
consciousness, no? So one thing is the physical being, which I agree with you, right? But this do you think, okay, you can capture consciousness, like can it be dotted, can it be ones and zeros, and can AI replicate consciousness?
You should look up this lovely podcast by GE.
Okay.
GE did only 2 podcasts or whatever, but they're brilliant. One of them called Afterlife is exactly this. That a girl who passes away and this guy who loves her tremendously, they have captured from all her memories, they've created a consciousness of her.
Okay.
And one day it starts talking back, not just from that, but starts directing this guy into doing something. Right? It's fascinating.
Okay.
But really, I'm telling you, and don't we all do this? Why do you capture your earlier generation in as many ways today? You want to take a video of your dad and mum. You want to keep a picture. You want to record their voice note and keep it. And I'm telling you, there are sites and technologies that are saying, give us all of this data and we will create a virtual...
I feel, I'm not trying to, disagree. But I'll tell you this conversation which I've had before is we often... are JPEGs, right? When you refer to me as Eka, it's based on your memories of me. Okay?
Absolutely.
You don't know the true me. Okay? Someone else, okay, who might be envious of me or jealous of me, okay, might have a completely different JPEG in which they are looking at, right? So the thing is, combining all these JPEGs together, okay, to get some final output, I still feel it's a little science fiction-y.
Yeah, but see, what you're talking is, the minute you see it from someone else's eyes, it's perception.
Yeah.
The minute it is you, it's conception.
Yeah.
So conception will be one. Perceptions will constantly change.
But then
everybody in this room has a different view of me right now. But conceptually, I am...
You know yourself.
I know... Even I don't know myself fully.
Okay.
But I am a sum total of a certain amount of hereditary knowledge that has come to me, which is limbic. Then there's a certain amount of stuff that has come into me, which is this pre-cortex that is reacting even today.
Agreed.
Right? So there is prehistoric, there is limbic, and there is this pre-cortex kind of bit which is in my brain. I am certain that a percentage of this will be replicated. They still believe that the number of connections in our brain are so many that it would take any computer maybe a few decades or I don't know how many more years. I don't think it's too far.
Okay.
I believe, I've told my children, I said by 2030, there will be a digital replica of me.
Of course,
who will be able
I
to
come from a family of doctors, right? Like everyone's a doctor in my family. And we have these conversations. I myself studied biotechnology for that. But
look at Ultrahuman. Sorry, I'm just butching.
Sure,
but look at Ultrahuman. Now, suddenly, I have a 23-year-old boy who's
which is tracking everything, all your calories, blood sugar.
He went and told his mom, and mom said, Dekho beta, there's a point when there's too much information. Right, now that's her reaction. But I know of a whole bunch. I was with Tanmay the other day and he constantly kept doing this. Kya kar raha hai? And he said, nahi, main apne ultrahuman pe na apni sugar check kar raha hu. I'm like, man, look at this. Right? Look at where we are going. The ability to, the more the data, that is conception.
But where does it become scary?
It's already scary.
It is?
It is definitely
No,
scary.
I'll tell you where I'm coming from, right? Like a lot
Voice synthesis is scary. Deep fakes are scary.
But to the point that science, and even if you study science, a lot of things which people believed, right, was caused by God. Now people are realizing it's science, right? But like this generation gap which we are talking about, right? When you said like, why are you creating a son? Okay, why all these genetic manipulations happening? Many people believe that this is not how it was meant to be.
Of course.
Right? And
between the purists, you know when you go to Stanford, there's a beautiful book called The Fuzzy and the Techie.
Yeah.
Right? So the Techie is the hard science person. The Fuzzy is the arts, humanities person. I had this 1-hour debate at Coalition once, which happened with his surname is Gandhi. He made The Ship of Theseus. The movie. Somebody please, I always forget.
We'll put it.
Please put. I'm very sorry. Supremely intellectual. Yeah. But we had this whole debate on stage, which almost, Vijay Nair at the end was saying, should I give you guys the gloves to beat each other?
Because, no, but it's good to have such conversations.
But that's what happened. That he said, if all inputs are X and 0, dots and dashes or whatever, then all output at one point will be predictable. And I was like, but then if English was inputted into every author, but everyone came out with their own version, what's the difference? Okay. So we will always have this little debate about, is it all mapped? Is it all going to happen? Should you manipulate? Should you not? The purists will find their world. The people who I believe are pioneers will keep looking ahead. And that's what will happen.
So let's talk about this token economy. Okay, now everyone's talking about token economy, creator economy leading to token economy, and also storytelling, right? Because storytellers will rule the world is now a very common quote which you see pretty much everywhere, right? And why I want to ask you this is, of course, you're a great storyteller, and also storytelling has evolved, right? Where do you see storytelling, not in the forms of commerce, right? How do you see storytelling evolving probably in the metaverse and probably blockchain, and leading to question probably about DAOs, like community driven storytelling, like what you were talking about, like the play, etc. What are your views on storytelling?
No, so see, again, let's try to break it down to its basic principles. The storytelling is nothing except data being given some context and therefore becoming relevant. Right.
Which triggers some emotion.
Absolutely right. So I mean, the other day I was doing a whole startup workshop and I was telling them how important storytelling is. And somebody turned and said, sir, isn't all हर चीज को dramatic बनाना, हर चीज में कहानी डालना, क्या जरूरत है? I said, okay, let me tell you. What is the pollution level in Delhi? If I tell you it's 475, what does it mean? That's a piece of data.
No
if I tell you it is equivalent to 11 packets of cigarettes you were smoking, right? Now I've given it context. So I think storytelling helps us give context to most things. And what are we all searching for but some kind of meaning, right? And that's where storytelling is important or critical. What is a DAO in relation to storytelling or to the whole space of storytelling? Today, my community and my team operates from 7 different cities. I have come up with this formula where I say once a quarter you should do something called a staycation, which is that you should be, we call it a workation.
Work
right?
from a different office.
So I'm saying from a different city, everybody come together, work for a week. Rest of the time, you're away. Now, this is a democratized, this whole thing that it's a decentralized organization in its sense that which we've created, right?
But not autonomous.
It is to a large degree, frankly, I would like it to be autonomous.
Okay.
And I like the decision making to actually break down to the entire team.
Okay.
So I tell them to vote on things and do stuff. I do believe that a DAO can lead to chaos if there is no control.
Okay.
So somebody will build in some control, right? When you turn and say, if more than 50% of you decide this, it'll be that way. Now, tell me what happens to innovation. What Steve Jobs used to say, he said, if you only build what people want,
there'll be chaos, right? It won't have meaning.
How will you know? How would you build the iPhone? Did anybody want it till nobody knew it? Right? You wanted a phone and you wanted a music player and you wanted a computer and you wanted a touchscreen interface.
In DAOs, there's still room for an autocratic decision maker.
Yeah,
right?
that's what I'm saying. I feel that it's required because if you have a DAO that is fully operated by number
that's
of people.
That's still fictional, right? Like automatic, like people, we've not reached that level. That's why
Exactly.
dApps and all come in.
Correct.
Some level of decentralized.
Yeah. So I think that is important. Now, when you talk of tokenization and storytelling, look at what happened, right? I mean, when meme coin started and suddenly people got so excited. I mean, one day there was this whole Dogecoin and you've got one person who's a great storyteller who picks up that one coin and builds it. I mean, he's playing with the world.
Yeah.
He just suddenly says, this is great. And everybody's, let's go and buy this. I think somewhere he's just a chaos agent.
Now, what?
Yeah. Has he bought it, not bought it? Who knows?
But yeah.
So I feel that some of these people are super intellects who are just playing with people, saying, you guys are all, let me show you the difference between a lamb.
So, but like the question I'm asking is, do you think microfinancing, like basically everyone, like token economy storytelling is earlier, if you had a story, you would need to have connections, you would need to have being ability to sell to production houses, etc. Now, do you think in this future world, like you mentioned Kickstarter, right? Like if I have a story and if I want crowdfunding, right? Like, do you think the future of storytelling, at least in terms of film, cinema, series, they will move to this crowdfunding world where many people get together, they are also part of this whole creative and production aspect of it? Or do you still think that is just a concept? And
I think it will happen, but it still requires some amount of endorsement. When a Bahubali comes, why does Karan Johar need to present it? Because
he wants to make money, right?
No,
I don't know.
no, but when yes, of course he wants to make money. But when he comes into the picture, he is trying to give you the ISI mark of saying, मैंने इसको endorse कर दिया है. Amir Khan presents. So and so.
Approved by Amir
right.
Khan.
Now suddenly, South cinema is turning and saying, I don't need to be approved by anyone.
True.
Because I am approved by people.
So the middleman over here probably is getting cut off, right?
Is getting cut off. But why was the middleman there? The middleman was there because they had already been given the mantelpiece of being great storyteller, great producer, great creator. So if great creator is endorsing, something was getting more value. If today 1 million people already turn and say, I believe in this product and I'm giving it value, they will not require this middle layer. But will the product be great?
No one knows.
No one knows. So it's like entering a casino and betting on a number, and there's some probability which says this number will be struck. But is that the number you're going to hit today? You really don't know at the end of the day. So I believe that getting people together is the fact that you're together, you own a bit of this, gives you both ownership, gives you a little bit of responsibility. You're not in the great power and great responsibility thing. You're in the little power, little responsibility space, which is what human beings normally want.
But sir, do you think people want openness? Do you want books like books of production expenses, costs completely open? Because especially in India, itna jhol hota hai, right? And you are aware of that, right? Which is why I'm bringing it. I'm not sure if anyone's asked you.
And this
but
is
there's
the whole
so much
point.
money जो उड़ता है in production, etc.
मैं आज बता रहा हूँ 30 साल इवेंट करने के बाद मेरा बहुत बार मन करता है to actually tell people saying यार आप जितना बजट काट लो जो कर लो 30% अगर आप कोई नहीं बना रहा होगा ना, that event can't run. Doesn't your mind make you realize that this team has got 50 people how are their salaries coming? But because as long as you believe, oh my God, I'm working on 8%.
Yeah.
Right? It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's absolutely ridiculous. But transparency, are people ready for that level of transparency is a big question. Again, what I said, that younger people, what pains them, they want to solve as anybody wants to. But the more they are solving it, the more they are overthrowing set ways of doing business. Okay. Right?
Yeah.
And these set
That's
ways...
what drives evolution, right?
Absolutely. But why are banks so scared of crypto? And why are they so excited right now saying, look, it's fallen so much? But didn't the stock market fall that much also?
Yeah.
Haven't companies fallen that much also? I'm invested a little bit in that space. I've stuck. So somebody said, oh my God, did you pull out? I said, I'm not. I am doing this because I want to understand what's happening first. I am not investing more than 1% of what I own so that I don't lose my sleep.
It's the fuck you money which people say,
exactly.
Right? Like primarily.
So today, and how have asset classes moved? Yeah, look at it, right? Again, parents' generation. घर होना चाहिए, नौकरी होनी चाहिए, बस. बचा हुआ कुछ नहीं चाहिए.
गाड़ी थोड़ा.
वो कहता था
and gold होना चाहिए.
Absolutely right? Those were their asset classes.
Yeah,
Suddenly in our generation, what were the asset classes that changed? Stocks, shares, mutuals, this, that started. Next generation, this next generation doesn't want car, doesn't want house.
Value relationships, you think, sir?
Absolutely. No, I'm saying their equation about value of everything is changing. It would take a lot of time to study it. But who has that time is number one critical. Do they value relationships? They totally do. They totally do. There's a line which we often use at communes saying that in this filtered world, what you're really looking for is something unfiltered.
Okay.
When commune puts up a story with a person behind a mic, as long as the story is pure, look at our top stories. They've done millions of views. I mean, one of them, in fact, has got I think about 3 crores or 4 crore views. एक mic के पीछे एक आदमी सच बोल रहा है. वही हमने try करा, we should do this with this style and that edge and this filter and that. No. Because this filtered life, again, I often turn and say, the more connected you are, the more disconnected you are. Right?
Very nicely put.
And it's that in this highly digital world, you're becoming social dyslexics. And to end that, you need this. You need that little thing. So relationships, I'm telling you, how much do they value? The problem that's happening is, earlier there was one place to create an image. मैं सुबह बाल काट के मिरर में घर चला जाता था, ठीक था. अब मैं बाल काट के मिरर पर नहीं जाता हूँ, मैं इंस्टाग्राम पर जाता हूँ, फेसबुक पे जाता हूँ, स्नैपचैट पे जाता हूँ, and I'm constantly getting people who are telling me
external validation,
that's the problem. So there was
that
validation.
dopamine hit which comes through.
My validation was the 1,000 people clapping for me on stage. When that stage became small, I found radio bigger. Then I found television bigger. Then I wanted to do film even bigger. Then I want to own the digital universe.
Yeah.
Right? So
you're on your way for that.
Let's hope.
Like
But
a little Roshan's got like one of the best investment portfolio in young media companies.
The good part is because you know what happens. I often say there's a time. I'm now 50 plus, yeah. You know, but I said, but how do I stay 25? By investing in people of that age.
So that was my next question, right? How do you keep up the enthusiasm, right? Because a lot of like prioritization, etc. A lot of people give gyan, right? But this, and you know, I've been an entrepreneur for the last 4 years, and we and Varun were having this conversation where I was like, starting off later in life as an entrepreneur, the sheer amount of enthusiasm which one has to probably fake on a daily basis is really taxing. How are you so enthusiastic every day?
Number one, I don't fake it, right? What that requires is you need to call a spade, which many people don't do.
Many people don't like.
You're right.
You probably have reached that level where people will appreciate you calling a spade
because
a spade,
very often
right?
I tell people saying, "Sach sunna hai ke kuch sunna hai."
The convenient truth or
exactly the inconvenient truth or the convenient lie.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, and that's right. And sach sunna hai, kuch sunna hai. No, sach sunna. I said, then brace yourself. Then I'll tell you how bad this is or whatever. But I'll also tell you how you can solve it. That's one part. Second thing, you know, this Daniel, again, I'm forgetting names. I really am realizing I'm getting old. Almond, वो शुरू करना पड़ेगा. Whatever, you know, होता था ना बचपन में एक almond oil का एक चम्मच.
I'm sure, so eventually AI will figure out
that
what you're
also,
trying to say, and the name will automatically
you know,
pop
because,
up.
But that book called Noise,
yeah,
eliminate noise. I don't pick up my phone for anyone whose number I don't have.
Okay.
But I said, if you are so desperate to get in touch, you'll find a way.
You'll find a way.
If you don't find a way, it's not important. क्यों करना है?
Maybe.
50 कॉल आते हैं दिन में.
I'm sure.
Right? And गलती से कभी-कभी उठ जाता है, होता है, हेलो, टाटा सेल फोन की तरफ. अरे यार, मतलब यही इसी के लिए 2 मिनट वेस्ट करते नहीं. मैं नहीं करता. मैं उठाता ही नहीं. Emails आती हैं, whatever. I must tell you, last year, I tried to take on this experiment saying I'm going to outsource my brain.
Yeah.
Right? So what did I do?
Just have a person read all your mails.
No, so I actually created, I said, now we've got 7 active ventures, 40 plus startups you invested in. I can't manage it. So I built a personal office team. So there's a team, and I found these 2 lovely boys. They are 23 and 24, I think. Frankly, I'm sure they'll also tell me saying we are younger. But they're these 2 kids. I found them after interviewing some 40 to 80 different people. But these 2 people, the minute I mean, after a while I said, this guy has my values, my ethics, and his attention to detail, etc. is something that I love. Creative as well, whatever. Other person has a lot that I don't know. Tech. You know, very much into this kind of space. Creatively, I feel that he mirrors a lot of my kind of mind. Now I said, okay, I've outsourced a large part of my brain. So people said, how busy are you? I'm not busy. I'm really not busy. I'm busy sometimes solving the kind of things my daughter needs to wear a dress and go, aaj mujhe ye karna hai, this is happening, whatever. I'm busy with that. I'm busy.
I saw some beautiful photos you take of your wife.
I'm busy taking Shahid's pictures on holiday.
Become a photographer.
And we were so happy because, you know, I think we took a break after 8 years, which was just the 2 of us.
Yeah.
And that's when you can enjoy that space and that time. So what you don't do well, outsource.
So, like, I'll take on the travel thing with something which I missed asking you before. You and me had this conversation. I'm a big fan of geographically agnostic content, right? Like, honestly, when people talk about Netflix not working in India, I think Netflix is working in India, but Netflix stories are probably not reaching out to a geographical audience where other people who are not Indian are also consuming it. What are your thoughts about geographically agnostic? I think stories now should not have boundaries, should still have boundaries, like, or there's no answer.
The beautiful thing that was said when Parasite won the Oscar, which is saying that as long as you're willing to look at the bottom 1/3 of your screen for a translation in your language, all content is content that you can consume. But you must know how to read, or obviously there must be audio translation. If one of these 2 things is available, unless you become Tarsem Singh, you remember? When Tarsem Singh used to do all his beautiful videos and the films that he did, Eternals and others, he in one interview somebody asked him saying that, you know, why is your film have no dialogue and only music? He said because music and visuals are universal. Yeah. Dialogue is not. So if those 2 elements you can focus on as the core of your storytelling, that's one level. But otherwise, I really feel that this world, again, why is this generation so global and so local? Because every day when they pick up their phone, उनकी खिड़की उनके पड़ोस में नहीं, उनका पड़ोस दुनिया है. मेरा पड़ोस लखनऊ में मेरे सामने की गली थी. चिक वाला क्या कर रहा है, आयन वाला क्या कर रहा है, वो घी वाला क्या कर रहा है, मैं वो देखता था शुरू में. राइट, हमारी उतनी छोटी सी यूनिवर्स थी. Their universe is everything.
Yeah.
Whatever they open is what they see, and which is what they are consuming. Why is Kpop so popular?
Yeah.
And now not just Kpop today.
K-drama also, right?
No,
Yeah.
Kpop, K-drama, and today I read a thing which said the K list of literature. What's happening?
Yeah.
Because there are governments sitting there who are telling young creators, go out, we will support you, because this is the way that the next global domination will not happen by winning wars. It'll be by winning minds.
Attention, creative attention.
Absolutely. I mean,
Right.
there are kids who are learning Korean as their second language in India today.
Not bad.
Yeah?
So, talking about future domination, right? Like, this is a question which I ask all my hosts and just towards the to all my guests. Towards the end of it, 10 years down the line, what are the jobs? And this is for all our young listeners, right? What are the jobs which are going to become redundant and people should stay away from? And what are the spaces where to future-proof themselves in this creative space of, say, events, storytelling, etc. are things which people should concentrate on?
Great question, firstly, because I do believe that people are so still set on safe careers.
Yeah.
But frankly, no safe career will be safe much further or whatever. I mean, today, I feel that creative careers, frankly, are far more safer than other careers because they're not bound by hard and fast rules. 2 and 2 for you could be 22, and for me could be 2 under 2 looks like a beautiful figure which I can create and sell as an NFT maybe tomorrow, right? So as long as you can laterally think in anything, I think you're safe. The minute you are hard science, there as a whole, anything computational, I think is going to be on the decline. So when they say that, do you need accountants? No, there's a company I invested in which is just reading legal documents and scanning them and saying 98% of all the words in a legal document are the same.
Okay.
It's only 2% that's different. So if the computer can look at it and say, ये सब तो मुझे पता है, ये नहीं पता, दो लाइन बचेंगी. Right?
सिर्फ ये लोग चाहिए.
तो वो समझना, that anomaly which somebody understands. I think experience will be, Amit Verma, who I love and adore, he says very often that as life increases, the number of points of contact for you also keep increasing, and therefore your image starts becoming more high definition. जितना देखते हो उतना और high definition होता जाता है. I think that's what you need. Experience more things. Go and just experience as much
Curiosity,
as
I think, right?
Curiosity.
Curiosity is something which one
just
should
stay
really
curious. And frankly, so that you're not overfilling yourself at some point, keep emptying the rubbish. Just keep emptying the other stuff also. ये जो होता है ना कि सब कुछ cram कर लो, जरूरी नहीं होता. There are times when I spend 2 hours every morning just browsing, and I spend maybe a certain amount of time every day where I'm just doing nothing. And that's when I get my best ideas.
True.
So
this is such a fantastic conversation. I wish we can do like
I know,
I'll
my
get you on
God.
for the second season. But like final closing question, right? 15 years from now, and probably we'll still in touch, and I'll send you this episode saying, "Dekho sir, aapne ye bataya tha." What do you think Roshan Abbas is doing 15 years down the line in this metaverse? Is there going to be Web 4, or what sort of a storyteller is he going to be? How do you think, or how are you going to consume your stories probably 15 years down the line?
So I think 15 years down the line, and sometimes I even think about this, my conscience will be somewhere captured and will be talking to you. I may not physically be talking to you at all.
Okay.
Because I
going dark over there. Are you saying
I
you
know.
might be dead?
Yeah, I'm honestly telling you.
Yeah.
I often have this conversation saying that I would love, when people want to leave a legacy, can I leave a digital legacy which just exists? Can a conscience exist somewhere where you could go and ask? Remember?
So all creative people say that, That's
right?
why people make films, right?
Right. No, you remember in Superman when he goes to that castle and he puts that little thing and Kal-El, his father, emerges, right? And I always remember that I used to see that moment and I used to say, my God, there will be a time that this would just be us. So I genuinely dream of that, and I excitedly look forward to that at some level. I do believe that Web 4 will be an environmentally conscious web.
Very nice.
right? So if you look at what's happening right now, people's biggest concern is, oh my God, to mint something, the gas fees and the amount of environmental impact is becoming a big question.
Yeah.
So I do think that Web 4 will be an environmentally conscious web for sure.
Perfect.
Maybe a lot of what we will generate will be just, we'll be reading minds rather than having just conversations. And we'll be doing this between Mars and here for sure.
Future's going to be incredible. We are also having an episode on sustainability and blockchain. Probably
you should speak
as
to
a
Angad.
Listener, you should check that based on what Roshan
100%.
said.
You should. There's a young boy called Angad Daryani who runs a company called Pran.
Sure.
23-year-old kid who came in. I won't call him a kid. I think he's far more evolved. But in a conversation with me, I told him, what about the metaverse? And he said, sir, pehle universe bachane ke liye. And I just fell in love with that line, saying, oh my God. And if 20-year-olds are thinking that, we're good.
That's so good. What a fantastic conversation with Roshan Abbas. Thank you so much. I hope you guys loved this episode. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Eka. It's always a pleasure. And I just want to say, not because I want to steal his end, but Eka has genuinely been a person who from early days, I got to know him during the MTV days through some friends. And I was always told that he's the one looking to do new things and newer things. So from this to Blakomi to everything else you're doing, all the
one
best.
One falls, one learns. But that's what I said.
It's fantastic.
Ek zindagi hai, sir. Agar multiple cheezein
Bas
nahi karenge
Eka chahiye.
Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
And that was a great episode of Future Proofing with me, Ekalavya Bhattacharya, presented by Intel vPro, built for business. I'm sure you loved this episode, so please like it, share it, rate it, forward it to all your friends. And there's also some good news. We've got a contest running, and you can win yourself a Future Proofing NFT along with some really cool show merchandise. All you have to do is follow us on our socials, IVM Podcasts across all networks, and Ekalavya across LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and Ekalavya B on Twitter. Thank you so much and see you on our next episode.